Welcome back to the Arise interview. I'm Charles Aniagolu. Now, if you're a rock music fan, you might have heard that Genesis, a band that formed some 54 years ago when some British school friends at Charterhouse Boarding School got together, is back on the road again. The group's journey from prog-rock pioneers playing to some dozen earnest fans to the chart-topping, arena-filling band of the 80s and 90s has seen members come and go. And the group's frontman, singer and drummer Phil Collins first announced his retirement almost 20 years ago. But now Genesis are back together and are performing together again on tour before they put it to bed. Well, for more on Genesis and that last Domino tour, I'm joined now by the London-based journalist Paul Davis, who has followed the career of Genesis through the pages of some of the world's biggest newspapers that he's written for, including the Daily Express, the Sunday Express, the Times and the Independent. Paul, thank you very much indeed for joining us. And I have to say that you made me extremely jealous, but also eternally grateful a couple of days ago when you went to a Steve Hackett concert. Steve Hackett, of course, one of the original members of Genesis, and you put on your WhatsApp and I could hear it through your phone. So thank you for that.
It's my pleasure, Charles. It was a sensational show. It was unbelievably good. And what he's done is he's carried the torch faithfully for that era, that period of Genesis that most of us, including yourself, as I know, love and cherish. And he does it perfectly with precision and panache. And there's a point during the show where Afterglow, famous song, comes on the plays, and all the lights come on, like the cover of the Seconds Out album itself. And it's just breathtaking and awesome. It's such a great tour, that he's actually embarked upon, a 30-day tour, which actually clashes this evening with Genesis's date in Manchester. They're both playing Manchester. Steve Hackett's playing the Apollo and Genesis are playing the Arena. So there's a good choice for people to go to, isn't it?
I have to say, if I was there, it would be a big challenge. I mean, I think I'd buy both tickets and run from one to the other, sort of in between breaks and so on. But let's talk about Genesis, which is, I mean, as the name implies, they are the provenance of that prog rock band. I mean, 30 years after their last public performance, they're reunited for another major tour. But I mean, those plans were a bit stop, and start over the sort of over a few years, weren't there? There were moments when fans thought that it simply wasn't going to happen.
That's right, yes. Like with a lot of things with the pandemic, the global pandemic. But obviously, they just put it on ice, in stasis. And then, as soon as we got the all clear from the government to perform, they put the show on the road. And they played 3 shows already in Birmingham. And anybody, who's been on the internet to see what the quality of performance is like, I've just been blown away. The standards of, for Nick Collins himself, the drummer, playing, Phil's son, playing all those perfectly Phil's old drumming fills. And it's been brilliant. And Phil Collins' voice has held up really well, sitting at the front like in a mastermind armchair, ready for a quiz. And he's just been quite a revelation, frankly, from the physical frailty. His voice just does not sound frail at all. It's been quite an astounding, few shows so far into this tour.
Oh, yes, I mean, I was going to pick up on that because, I mean, clearly it's definitely on again, but I mean, do you think that in the circumstances with their sort of advanced age and Phil Collins' health challenges, this is a fairly drawn-out concert tour. I mean, is there some trepidation about them sort of going into a large arena over and over again filled with people, or that doesn't sort of bother you, that, it might kind of fall off the wagon?
A lot of people have been double jabbed and most people wear masks, as required. That's fine. They're probably quarantined very well, aren't they, from stage to backstage to touring coach to hotel. And I think there's enough days in between gigs as well for recuperation and for them to have a bit of R&R, not like the old days, 2 gigs a night, matinee and evening performance, which Genesis play quite often, especially on the Land Lies Down tour. So these days they're kind of like, combined age is taken into account, by promoters.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, they've been 54 years, I mean, doing this. I mean, that's older than quite a lot of people. I mean, but there's talk of putting it to bed. Is that what this tour is for men of their age?
Well, I think it probably is for somebody of Phil Collins' age and physical, restrictions. He's already more or less said, this is going to be the last tour. He's actually been quoted as saying that. Even though Tony Banks, who pretty much runs the band, Collins is the frontman, but Banks, but mostly Banks runs the band, has put that little question mark at the end of the last Domino tour. But I think this probably is, and probably given the pandemic in the period that it's actually had to be put on ice, it probably would conclude to be that, which will be, unfortunate, sad, but things come to an end. But, it's a case of what a really good set list they have got. They've chosen an excellent set list. Not all the hits. They've chosen, great album songs to be going in. They're going all the way back as well. There's parts of Stagnation on I Know What I Like. They played the entire of I Know What I Like on Selling of England by the Pound. Bits of Moonlit Night, there's also, there's Carpet Crawlers, the end of the Carpet Crawlers as well, on The Land Lies Down. On Broadway album. So they've actually combined their, kind of grey matter to think, can we give bands here? Everybody knows us as a hits band, and everyone knows us as a magnificent elite prog-rock band from the past. So all kudos for doing that.
And I mean, you just reminded me of some of the great songs there. I mean, when I think of Squonk, I think of A Trick of the Tail, Dancing with the Moonlit Night, and all of that. But when they were asked how it feels for them to play together again, I mean, the tongue-in-cheek answer was wrong. I mean, how remarkable is it that they got back together again?
Well, it's, they're friends, aren't they, really? And they, I think, it's in their blood, isn't it? They all want to participate and do something. Obviously, Bill has a solo tour recently, last few years. Mike has gone out with his mechanics, and Tony Banks has been, doing solo works and, from home. So they probably do feel this is a good time to get back together. And just look at the tickets, they've just blown out of the box office, and everything is sold out. I mean, and similar going back to Steve Pickett, well, this tour is getting pretty much sold out as well. So this will be generated interest in this band from 54 years from when they first started.
I mean, we've got less than a minute to end the chat. I mean, I wonder if that feeling of being on stage and on top of the world immediately comes back when you sort of feel the heat of the crowd on your face. I mean, you've interviewed lots of these gerontocratic bands. What do you reckon? We've got about 30 seconds.
Oh, they'll be loving it. They'll be reliving their youth, their past. Everything will be flashing before their eyes. All the memories, not just them, but all the memories of the people that will come to see them as well. They'll be adoring this. They know it's their swan song, which is something they're going to go out on a magnificent high on, I should anticipate. So I'm going to see them in Liverpool date. I can report back on you even more so on that question later, Charles.
Okay, Paul, I want to thank you very much indeed. Paul Davis, the music journalist, talking to me there from London. That's it for this edition of The Arise Interview. Join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja and around the world. Bye-bye, and thank you for watching.